Thank you for all the joy, memories of comfort. Make we celebrate. Vita now we honor. Representing Naija, heritage of quality. For Naija, quality is Vita. Now Vita for more.
Vitafoam is proudly Nigerian and constantly support Nigerians with consistent quality product for comfort and well-being. With Vitafoam, you don't just sleep. We give you comfort that gets you recharged. Vitafoam, the fine art of living.
Hello. Thank you. Would like to say a welcome to everyone present in the hall today, this afternoon. And so would like to say good afternoon to you all. Good afternoon. Welcome to this event. If you look around, you probably might be wondering why the hall is half full. You don't have to worry about that, because in keeping with the realities of the times, this is a hybrid event. So quite a number of people will be joining us via Zoom. So we have quite a number of people attending this program today. My name is Akin Adeshola, and I have a confession to make. As a Yoruba man, I suddenly realized that I have never taken time to explore the origins of a very quaint Yoruba expression. And that expression, for those of you who are Yorubas here, is Shoki Lobeogi. The broad meaning of that expression is that when a pretty damsel cooks a pot of soup or stew, it's usually very brief or small in quantity. Let's hope it is as sweet. Well, why did I tell that story? If you have taken time to look at the rundown of today's program, you will see that it's been scheduled to take place for precisely 2 hours. So don't worry, it's going to be a short but very high impact program, as you will see. So once again, I'd like to bid each and every one of us here today welcome. The first thing we'd like to do before we do the introductions is to take first the national anthem to officially kick off the program, and thereafter we will take the OML anthem, that is the Omolayole Management Lecture Anthem. And if you look through your program, I think on page, you will find the OML anthem on page 10 of your program, so that you can sing along with us. So let's take the national anthem, please, if it's on cue already. Titled The Song of Unity, as you can see there. And so let us take it very quickly. I believe that some of us who are here know the tune to that anthem. All right, if you don't know it, it goes this way. We are better, we are better, we are better together. We are bigger, we are bigger, we are bigger together. Do we get it? Thank you. So let's sing it together now. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We are better, we are better, we are better together. We are bigger, we are bigger, we are bigger together. We are stronger, we are stronger, we are stronger together. We are safer, we are safer, we are safer together. We are abler, we are abler, we are abler together. We are fuller, we are fuller, we are fuller together. We are richer, we are richer, we are richer together. We are greater, we are greater, we are greater together. Thank you very much. And you would like to know that this Song of Unity, the OML anthem, was composed by the Rotarian Dr. Michael Omolayole, Paul Harris Fellow, Doyen of the Rotary Club, Apapa, Lagos, District 911, Nigeria Rotary International, and of course the Doyen of Management in Nigeria today, the man on whose behalf we have all gathered here together. Thank you very much. You may sit down. Thank you. So I'd like to first of all invite those who will take charge of the events for today. One thing that never ceases to amaze me is that Dr. Michael Omolayole is such a politically correct host. And because he is the one on whose behalf we're all gathered here today, he has already taken his seat in order to welcome all those who will do justice to the program today. But I will still introduce him to you. For those of you who have not met him before, Dr. Michael Omolayole. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you. As the program progresses, you will find out the concept of the program and the reason why we're here today at the Necker House. But suffice it to say that the chairman of today's event, who is also the host partner of the Omolayole Management Lecture Series for this year, is the president of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, and he currently also is the managing director and chief executive officer of Vitafoam PLC. Please welcome Mr. Taiwo Adeniyi. You're welcome. Excellent. Today, we have a very highly topical theme to discuss. And in keeping with the tradition of the Omolayole Management Lecture, we usually look for people who are eminently qualified to do justice to the theme of the day. And this year, we have none other than don't worry, we will still read his citation. So I'm not going to read his citation at this moment. But please welcome, as you can see on your program, is prominently there on the front page, our speaker for today, Dr. Muda Yusuf, the Chief Executive Officer of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE. You're welcome, sir. We would also like to join them on the table here in front, the representative of the president of NIM, and that is Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired, FNIM. You're welcome, sir. He is representing the president of the Nigerian Institute of Management. We have the president of CIPM, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Mr. Shegun Mojid, FCIPM. Would also like to invite the president of the ISEC Alumni Nigeria, the host organization, Ms. Bumi Abejori. We are still expecting the representative of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, and when they come in, we will effectively recognize them. Thank you. We have quite a number of dignitaries present with us here today who have come here to honor Dr. Michael Omolayole. As usual, we have the former chairman of Nigerian Breweries, Pa Felix Ohiwere. We're happy to have you here. We also have the former president of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, Pa Femi Oshunkeye. He's also here. Oh. Forgive me, I will make correction. Thank you. Shegun Oshunkeye, forgive me. Thank you. We have with us also Mr. Wale Adediran, who is a former president of CIPM, and he is a group HR director of Flour Mills, Nigeria. Present with us also is the registrar and CEO of Nigerian Institute of Management, Mr. Jude Ehenacho, FNIM. You're welcome. We have the CEO and registrar of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM. You're welcome. As other dignitaries come in, we would also recognize them. And of course, we have with us Mr. Shola Oyetayo. He is a former president of the ISEC Alumni Nigeria, and he was the one who initiated the Omolayole Management Lecture when he was president of ISEC Nigeria 35 years ago. You're welcome. Thank you very much. So right now, without much ado, would like to take the welcome address by the president of the ISEC Alumni Nigeria, Ms. Bumi Abejori. Bumi, please.
Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association, NECA, who is also the MD, CEO of Vitafoam PLC. Our very distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Muda Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE. Our supportive headline sponsor, Bank of Industry, members of the high table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ISEC alumni in Nigeria, our guest of honor, Dr. Michael O. Omolayole, the OML hosting partner, and OML partners, I am pleased to welcome you all to the 38th Omolayole Management Lecture. The hazy and uncertain economic outlook of Nigeria is giving significant cause for concern in the light of the lingering headwinds from the Russia-Ukraine crisis, residual effects of COVID-19 pandemic, tightening global financial conditions, high level of private, public, and corporate debts with heightened risks, and rising inflation across several economies. As hostilities continue, the humanitarian and economic consequences go beyond the warring countries. It extends to millions of people around the world, putting them at risk of hunger. More than ever, the decisions that policymakers and stakeholders in the entire food value chain, a mentor, a trailblazer, and an inspiration to individuals and organizations across Nigeria. He has shown nation-building capacity by continuously spearheading programs and initiatives that have propelled our indigenous leadership and management economy to greater heights. Indeed, this is proof of the high regard the corporate world as a collective holds Dr. Omolayole, with the collaboration between Nigerian Institute of Marketing, NIM, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA, and Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, for almost a decade by enabling key stakeholders of high intellectual capacity to analyze and recommend new ideas to benefit the business and economic development of our country. Since 1984, notable leaders and subject matter experts have graced the OML podium, from elder statesmen to captains of industry, such as the most recent speaker, Mr. Olukayode Piton, the MD, CEO of Bank of Industry, who is also an ISECA. Please join me in welcoming our 38th guest speaker, Dr. Muda Yusuf, as he will be expounding on the theme, Sustainable Development for Agricultural Sector for National Well-Being. My deep thanks to everyone who has taken active part, who is taking active part in today's key focus on sustainable agricultural systems in Nigeria. In the words of the American Congressman Doug Osei, a safe, affordable, and plentiful supply of food is the national security issue. Food security is our national sovereignty, and we must protect our territorial independence by guaranteeing food security. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Pumi. I think you have prefaced the event of today very nicely. Would like to take the opening speech by the chairman of today. Please welcome Mr. Taiwo Adeniyi.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Let me first say a big thank you to God that we've been able to come in here and we're not all maxed. Some time ago, could not have been able to come in without wearing a mask, and then we'll be seeking to know who is under the mask. Thank you very much. Again, let me save time by maintaining the already established protocol, but I won't do that. Son of Baba, Chief Dr. Michael Omolayole. I'd also not want to do an oversight the fact that in this room we have presidents, directors generals of Lagos Chamber of Commerce or their representative, that's LCCI, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Nigerian Institute of Management, and Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, the registrar of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, and others present in this room. You know why I have to recognize the Director Generals? Many times you see, and you talk about presidents, but those who really do the job are the Director Generals. So I just must recognize them. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this occasion in honor of our own Dr. Michael Omolayole, a veteran of many parts and former president of our association, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. among many other institutions. You'll agree with me that while there are several events of this kind, none, to my knowledge, compares to Dr. Omolayole lecture series, not only in terms of depth and relevance of the discourse to national renaissance, but also the pedigree of the personality and the institutions behind it. The four institutions, as earlier established, are NECA, NIM, CIPM, LCCI. These are indeed privileged to have been led at different times by Dr. Michael Omolayole. The 38th edition of this annual management lecture series, with the theme Sustainable Development of the Agriculture Sector for National Well-Being, is not only unique, but timely. As you are all aware, agriculture remains a fundamental and critical sector in the development of a nation. With the recent upsurge in banditry in the north and some other areas, which has created impediments for farmers going to farm and harvesting their crops, the importance of agriculture to our livelihood as a people has been further brought to the fore. Also, with the Russia war on Ukraine, which has created a breach and disruption in the supply chain of critical agricultural produce, especially wheat, the need for a sustainable national policy on agriculture has become more critical to the world at large. While government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, has taken some steps towards the development of agriculture through the Anchor Borrowers Scheme and the Backward Integration Program, more is needed to be done to ensure food security. Having metamorphosed into a policy-shaping forum of importance, I want to request you all to pay special attention not only to the keynote address by Dr. Muda Yusuf, but also to the conversations that will arise after his presentation. As I conclude, I want to congratulate Dr. Michael Omolayole for his zeal and passion for national development. I wish you continuous good health, sound mind, and long life, sir. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you very much to our able chairman, Mr. Taiwo Adeniyi. Right. The time has come for us to tackle the business of today. You would have seen from the program in your hand that this year's edition of the Omolayole Management Lecture is the 38th in the series. That makes the Omolayole Management Lecture the singular, longest running management seminar and lecture series in Nigeria ever. Thank you very much. And therefore, our speaker today, as has been mentioned previously, is in very eminent company. If you look through the list in the program of the series of lectures in the past, you will see that the people who have tackled topics at the Omolayole Management Lecture are people of no mean character. And today we also have someone like that. Our speaker, Dr. Muda Yusuf, is the immediate past Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI. He is an economist and has contributed immensely to the national economic discourse through his research-based analysis of policies of government as they affect various sectors of the economy. He is currently the founder and chief executive officer of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE, a non-governmental organization committed to the ideals of free enterprise and private sector development. Dr. Yusuf obtained a bachelor's and master's, bachelor's and master's degrees in economics from the University of Ilorin. Greatest Unilorite. I couldn't help but do that. From the University of Ilorin, Nigeria, and University of Lagos. I don't want to hear anything from Unilag people here. He has a master's degree in business research from the Swiss Business School, Switzerland. He also holds a doctorate degree in business administration from the Swiss Business School. He has good insights and competencies in business and corporate strategy. He is an alumnus of the Lagos Business School, having attended the advanced management program of the school. He has participated in numerous high-level public policy advocacy dialogues at both the federal and state levels with the aim of fostering a conducive environment for private sector development in the Nigerian economy. He is a leading advocate of an enabling environment for the Nigerian private sector and has a vast knowledge and exposure on business research, policy, and regulatory issues affecting business. Dr. Muda Yusuf has attended numerous prestigious courses, conferences, and seminars, both locally and internationally. You will agree with me that he is eminently qualified to deal with today's topic, isn't it? Therefore, I have no further choice but to invite our speaker, Dr. Muda Yusuf, to please tackle the subject, sustainable development of the agricultural sector for national well-being.
The chairman of today's occasion, Mr. Taiwo Adeni, President NECA, our elder statesman, in whose honor we are all gathered here today, Papa Michael Omolayole. Let me, at this point, especially express my appreciation to Papa, because during my retirement from the chamber and at the event marking the retirement, Papa sent a very special tribute on that occasion. Papa, I want to thank you very much, and not just a tribute, but some very beautiful flowers. I still have those flowers, I cherish it immensely. So I'm very grateful to you, sir, for the honor done me at that time. Our elder statesman, Chief Dr. Olusegun Osunke and Chief Felix Ohiwere, I recognize you, sir. Leaders of the organized private sector, the President CIPM, NIM and LCCI. I want to, of course, NECA. Also want to appreciate the leaders of the organized private sector for sustaining this lecture over these years. Can we appreciate all of them, please? Captains of industry, the leadership of ISEC, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's a great honor for me to be invited to be the guest speaker. I feel greatly honored. I wasn't expecting it. But when I was told that Papa said I should play this role, so I had to accept. So I appreciate the privilege and the opportunity. Of course, we are talking about agriculture. Just as we all know, over the years, there have been a lot of rhetoric about agriculture. A lot of talk, a lot of programs, but sadly, we have remained almost on the same spot. So we need to look at what exactly we are not doing right, because we are blessed in every possible ways to be a leading food producer, not just producer, a leading exporter of not only food products, but even commodities for export. But for some strange reasons, we have not been able to achieve that feat. Well, I have quite a number of slides here, a bit long, but I will try to skip some, because I also expect that the presentation will be circulated to all participants. Well, the outline of the presentation, I'll be looking at why agriculture, why it matters. Be looking at the agricultural landscape, what kind of landscape do we have? The productivity challenges in agriculture, the imperative of youth-centered agriculture, the concept of agribusiness, issues of agri-finance, urban agriculture or urban farming, key issues in agri-development, the issue of land reform as it impacts agricultural development, issues of insecurity and its implications for agri-development, the concept of sustainable agriculture, and pathways to agricultural development. I will run through the presentations very, very quickly in the interest of time. Of course, where agri matters, all of us know that agri contributes significantly to our GDP, 26% of GDP, going by the last GDP numbers. It's a major employer of labor, employing over 60% of labor force. It provides inputs for our agro-allied industries and therefore saving the economy quite a lot of foreign exchange. Of course, agri is also key in the value chain, because when we talk about agriculture, it's not just about the primary agriculture, because that is often the default perception or default understanding of agriculture. The concept of the value chain is very critical. So agri is key to the value chain and impacting on manufacturing, transportation, marketing, and exports. And from this value chain, there are quite a lot of benefits to the economy. And of course, it's crucial to food security. It's a source of livelihood for those who are engaged in it, and also very critical to poverty reduction. It also it has an environmental value, protection by releasing oxygen and absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Then the structure of the GDP, you can see the structure we are looking at there is showing that the bigger part of the pie chart there is the services sector. Next to it is the agricultural sector and of course the industrial sector. So in terms of contribution to GDP, at 26%, agri contributes second largest to GDP. The largest sectoral contribution to GDP is coming from the services sector. And that is the current structure of the economy. And when you have this kind of structure, it's also an indication of the fact that the real sector of the economy is still struggling with a whole lot of issues. That is why we seem to be doing much better in the service sector than in the real sector of the economy. That is what explains that. And in terms of some export earnings, we have been getting some export earnings from cocoa exports. It's also part of agri. The latest figure here, 2021, we got 560 million US dollars from agriculture, from cocoa exports. Of course, that is still very small compared to the potential that we have. In oilseed, we also have been getting some foreign exchange from oilseed. Here we have about 302 million US dollars in 2021 as well. Then export of nuts, cashew nuts, cocoa nuts, Brazil nuts, we also have been earning some foreign exchange. 2021, we earned 256 million US dollars. So all of this is to underscore the fact that agric in its present form has been impacting significantly on the economy. But obviously, we can get a lot more value. We can unlock a lot more value from agriculture. A few issues about the productivity challenges. The land tenure system is a very big issue, affecting access to land. Even though we say that land is vested in the state government, even then, it's still a very, very big problem for agriculture. Even when you get the land, getting the titles to the land is another big issue. And this is a problem across the entire states of the Federation. A lot of challenges and sometimes a lot of corruption, a lot of bureaucracy. And when you don't have the title to the land, how confidently can you invest, especially if you want to do large-scale investment? The level of irrigation farming is also extremely low. We are still largely dependent on rain-fed agriculture, unlike what happens in many other parts of the world. We have challenges of climate change and land degradation, low use of technology. Technology adaptation is extremely low. There's high production costs, poor distribution of inputs, high post-harvest losses, quite a number of funding challenges that the agricultural sector faces, and challenges of access to markets. So those are some of the challenges, and if you actually want to move the agricultural sector forward, I think these are some of the things we should be looking at. Then looking at the landscape, the current structure of agriculture as we have it now, we have a pie chart there, which shows that almost 90% of agricultural activities and production is in crops. So when you talk about agric in this economy, it's largely crops, accounting for 90%. Then, of course, you have livestock, and you have forestry, and you have fisheries, contributing much smaller percentages. Crops essentially are maize, cassava, guinea corn. You have yam, beans, millet, rice. These are the major components of agric. Of course, Nigeria produced 34 million tons in 2021. That is of cassava. And of course, Nigeria is the world's largest producer of cassava. Approximately 20% of the global production, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization. Of course, we are also very active in livestock. Again, we are not doing as much as we should do, given the fact that there's still a big gap between supply and demand, and a whole lot of smuggling still taking place. In terms of fishery, Nigeria is the largest fish consumer in Africa. Annual consumption of 3.2 million metric tons of fish. And we have a coastline of 853 kilometers and 14 million hectares of inland waters. That again is to underscore the enormity of the opportunities that we have, in the area of fishing and fishery. But again, our performance is still suboptimal in that respect. Our annual fish production is about 1 million metric tons. That is including aquaculture. Forestry, again, we are not doing very well. The rate of deforestation is extremely very high. It's getting close to 3% per annum. And if you go around the country, you see all sorts of people felling the trees, shipping them out and all of that. Even though I think that's a fiscal policy that prohibits the export of wood. But somehow, people still manage to get these things out of the country. So the rate of deforestation is extremely high, and that is affecting our potentials in forestry. Of course, indiscriminate grazing and bushfire are all issues. Then the government has been doing a lot. We have seen a lot of programs. The programs that governments have been putting in place over the years, even before independence, does not reflect the reality that is on the ground in terms of the progress that has been made. We have the commodity boards, which were scrapped during the structural adjustment program. The whole idea of scrapping it was to ensure that the farmers get full value for their exports or their commodities. But whether that was a good decision or not, I think with the benefit of hindsight, I think people are now beginning to question the wisdom in scrapping the commodity boards, because most of our commodity exports, no standards, no coordination, nothing. We have numerous agricultural research institutes. They are all over the country. They have been here since 1964 to date. We have the National Accelerated Food Production Project in the 70s. Of course, we have the Nigeria Agricultural Cooperative Bank, which is now moribund practically because nothing is happening in that bank. Then we have the agricultural development projects all over the country. We have the Operation Feed the Nation, that's between 1976. That was introduced by Obasanjo. We have the River Basin Development Authorities. That still exists, but not much is happening in those areas. We had the Green Revolution, which was introduced by Shagari. Again, after Shagari, nothing much happened. We have the Directorate of Foods, Roads and Rural Infrastructure, which came of foreign exchange, even higher than some of the food items. But the whole idea here is for us to know where exactly our foreign exchange is going. Then it is important that we address the issue of youth-centered agriculture. Now, because of our demographic structure, the youth are bringing a lot of energy, innovation, creativity into so many sectors. But we are not seeing much of that in agriculture. So it is very important that we harness the energies of the youths in the area of agriculture. I mean, we are all witnesses to what the youths are now doing in the electoral space, how they are shaking everywhere. The youths are doing a lot in ICT. They are doing a lot in entertainment, music, video, quite a number of areas. But in agriculture, we are yet to take advantage of the fact that we have a youthful population. And that has created a situation where we have an aging population in agriculture, particularly at the primary level of agriculture. That narrative needs to change if we really want to move our agricultural sector forward. So we need to address the challenges that's obstructing the involvement of youth in agriculture. Some of these include issues of adequate information, use of technology in agriculture. Now, if you look at economies generally across the world, and even in Nigeria, in practically all sectors, there is a very big impact of technology across practically all sectors. But we are not seeing that in agriculture. And we cannot expect the youth of today to be going to farms with hoes and cutlasses. It cannot work. So it is very critical that we get better level of technology adaptation to agriculture. That is the only way we can make agriculture appeal to the younger population. And that is very, very critical as an agenda for agricultural transformation. Then there is issue of access to land, access to markets, then of course not being involved in policy dialogue. We need to step up advocacy in terms of the perception of youths about agriculture. Many youths look at agriculture as something that is meant for old people, struggling people, for people who are in the village and all of that. And yet when these foods come to the city and they end up in the eateries, everybody enjoys those food. So we need to change that perception. And the way to change the perception is also to make it attractive for the young people to be part of it. And of course, we need to ensure that we improve the living conditions in the rural areas, which is where basically the agricultural activities are taking place. This is important to reverse the rural-urban migration. And we need to also celebrate success stories in agriculture, especially among young people. There are a few young people that, in spite of all odds, are doing quite a number of amazing things in agriculture. We should celebrate them, we should showcase them, so that they can serve as a model of how we can bring the youthful population into agriculture. Now, agribusiness. There is a tendency to feel that when we talk about agriculture, it's just about going to farm and cultivating cassava or maize and all those, back-breaking activities. But it's much more than that. Agriculture is about value chain. It's about what we call agribusiness. We have different levels of activities in agriculture. And in order to strengthen the development of agriculture, we need to strengthen each of the levels of the value chain in agriculture. So that is why this aspect of the discussion is very, very important. We have the agric, of course, involves production, processing, packaging, transportation, preservation, distribution, and marketing. So there are 4 main segments of agribusiness that we should address in the process of ensuring agric development. We have the input segment, we have the production segment, we have the processing segment, and we have the marketing segment. The input segment has to do with things like the seeds, the fertilizer, the pesticides, herbicides, and other agrochemicals, animal feeds, poultry feeds, agricultural machineries, and all the things that we need as input into agriculture. It's a whole big business on its own. And we need to also create an ecosystem that will make that segment of agribusiness to be a lot more robust. Then we have the processing and value addition segment of agribusiness. That is the one we generally see as agriculture. This involves the crop farming, animal husbandry, poultry production, fishery, the key activities on the farm or on the poultry farms and all of that. That is the second level of agribusiness, which has to do with production and value addition. Then we have the marketing, sales, distribution, and exports. That's also a very important segment of agribusiness. And of course, in all of these segments, we can get a whole lot of investments to take place in all these segments, even involving a lot of youth. And we are beginning to see some traction really in that, but government needs to put a lot of push to ensure that we activate the opportunities and unlock value along the entire value chain. So marketing, sales, distribution, and exports. This involves the distribution, the branding, the packaging, and putting some of these things well packaged on the supermarket stores and so on, so that they can look a lot attractive. Then we have the support sector in the agribusiness. The support sector has to do with the funding, those who provide funding for agriculture, those who provide training, human capital development for agriculture, insurance for agriculture, advertising. There's a whole lot of support system that we need to support all the levels of the agribusiness. And all these support systems, offer a whole lot of opportunities for investment. Then we have what we call urban farming. Now we have a major issue, and it's across the world, and that is the challenge of urbanization. Right now, in Nigeria and in many other countries, more than half of the population are in the cities. They're in the urban centers. So a lot of people are walking away from the rural areas and coming to the cities. And this is fueling the demand for food. And of course, because a lot of people have moved away, the supply of food is becoming diminished because a lot of people have abandoned the rural areas. So that is part of the reasons we are having the challenges of food crisis and food insecurity. So the urban farming is good, particularly when it comes to things like vegetables, fruits, and things that can easily be perishable. The closer such things are to the cities, the lesser the wastage, and the more they can get to the markets fresh. And a whole lot of that is happening in many parts of the world. A bit of that is also happening in Nigeria, but we are not seeing much of that. And for us to activate the urban farming, there has to be a whole lot of application of technology. So that is very key, and that will take the form of gardening. You have rooftop farming, you have vertical farming, you have hydroponic farming, you have aeroponic farming. All sorts of techniques to grow plants, vegetable, fruits within a very small space. Because in the cities, we don't have the luxury of land. When I was in the chamber, quite a number of our members were expressing concern about how the Lagos State government have been taking their land, and I said to them, the market value of land is increasing every day. The Lagos State government has given you a land in Ikorodu or Badagry for you to be growing cassava. You can't be growing cassava on that kind of land now, because the market value has gone far beyond the value in use. So those are the challenges. So we have to be struggling with compensation, but I knew that it was not possible for the Lagos State government to revert that land to be agricultural land because of the rapid urbanization and the rapid increase in the market value of land. So urban farming is very important. You can see a graph there about urban population as a share of total population. I need to rush now. Then, of course, still on urban farming, there's a lot that can be done. You can see even around here some water beds. You see some people planting onions, vegetables, and all of that. But we need a whole policy around it to ensure that we boost this urban farming. Of course, agricultural development in Nigeria, some key issues. I'm talking here about public investment bias. It's not so much in favor of agriculture. We need to do a lot more in that. We need to invest a lot more in mechanization. Our irrigation system is weak. We should not have a situation where we only plant when it is raining. For a population of 200 million, that cannot work. That cannot support this population. We should be able to grow crops, vegetable, fruits, all year round. And that is what other leading agricultural producing countries are doing. We have low biotechnology adaptation, that's genetic engineering. There's a whole lot of debate about it, but we are talking about food security, productivity in agriculture. We cannot run away from technology. So the concept of biotechnology, genetic engineering, is very critical. And it's already proven that this thing is not injurious to health. So we need to move more in that direction so that we can have agri products that can mature within a very short time, that will grow better yield, and so on. That is the way to close the gap between the demand for food and the supply of food. So we need to do a lot more in terms of biotechnology and the use of genetic engineering. Of course, monocultural practices and so on. I think I need to skip some of these things. Then there's a graph here about fertilizer application per hectare. There's a comparative analysis of countries. And you can see Egypt, I'm looking at comparative countries now. Egypt, you can see the amount that is being used. That's over 300 kg per hectare of fertilizer application. You can see Nigeria there, just about 20 kg per hectare. So these are issues that affect productivity in agriculture. If you have this kind of minimal application of fertilizer. And again, this speaks to the whole system of input ecosystem in agriculture. The input that people need. If you talk to farmers now, they will tell you about the frustrations that they go through to get fertilizer. These things don't make headlines because they are not in the cities. But it's a major problem. There are some states that don't have up to 2 or 3 tractors to support farming. So how do you now grow agriculture? And when we talk about subsidy, these are the areas in which we can subsidize agriculture. The inputs, irrigation, machineries, tractors, and so on and so forth. And of course, agrochemicals. All those things are very expensive. Then we have another graph here, share of agric in total employment. You can see that Nigeria is very high in this graph. The same with Ethiopia. And when you have too many people in agriculture, it's an indication that the agricultural sector is underdeveloped. That is what it is. If you check other countries, even from this graph, US, and some other countries, even China, the percentage of employment in agriculture is extremely low, sometimes 10%, 15%. But here we are talking of almost 50% or so. It's an indication of underdevelopment. If you are using technology, you don't need a crowd to grow the food that we need. So we need to reverse that. Quite a number of those populations should be operating more along the value chain, along the issues of processing, packaging, marketing, exports, transportation. That is where the businesses are. They can add value along the chain. So that is an indication of underdevelopment in agriculture. Then arable land as a percentage of land area, that's another graph which should be of interest. I have some issues here about developing agric. I've addressed some of them, which is about seedlings, access to agrochemicals and so on. These are issues that farmers complain about. And the situation has been made worse now by the current exchange rate situation. These things are extremely, extremely expensive. Irrigation farming, I've addressed that. We have an estimated 3 million hectares of land which will be under irrigation in Nigeria. Only 200,000 hectares is under irrigation, which is about 2.7%. You can see where the setback for agriculture is coming from. All the land that are supposed to be irrigated are not irrigated. So people have to sit down and wait for rainy season before they go to farms. So that is important, and irrigation is not easy for the farmers to provide. It is the government that can provide it. Extremely low. Agric financing is an issue. Right now, of course, the CBN has been doing a lot, Anchor Borrowers Program and the rest, but the feedback from the farmers is so that the Anchor Borrowers Program and some of these intervention funds are not having the desired effect or are not yielding the right kind of outcomes. So that needs to be reviewed. Even the central bank has acknowledged almost 70% of the loans have, people are in default, they are not paying back. People see some of these things as national cake and all of that. So agri-financing is key. Agricultural Development Bank has practically collapsed. They have one office here around the Alausa. You need to visit the office. In fact, the look of the office alone will tell you that nothing is happening there. You can't get, but people still report there and they still take salaries. They have MDs, they have directors and so on. So we need to do something about agri-finance. BOI is doing well, but for some reason the Agricultural Development Bank is not doing well at all. So it's something to worry about. And the regular financial system, the regular commercial banks cannot support agriculture. First, they see agriculture as very risky, and perhaps rightly so. That's a major problem. Secondly, many of them don't even understand agriculture. So how do you give credit to a sector that you don't understand? So that is a major issue. Some of them just see agri only as farming. I talked about agribusiness. All the issues along the value chain presents a whole lot of opportunities, which requires finance. But when you have a financial system that has been indulged in a way, there is treasury bills to buy, there is bond, there is FX, there are all sorts of charges on fees. They make a lot of money from all of these things. So why would they worry about agriculture? So we need to review our agricultural financing architecture to improve financing. Of course, there's a graph here about the lending rates. The CBN just reviewed the MPR to 15.5%. I'm sure some people here will have been receiving notices from the banks on the review of interest rates. CRR was also reviewed to 32.5%. All of these things have significant implications for lending rates. And of course, the victims are the investors. Because you have taken the money, you are already locked in there. You cannot reverse, you can't return the bank's money, And this thing is floating rate, so you have to bear with it. So the lending rate, the general monetary environment does not support adequately the real sector of the economy. Anytime we raise this issue, the CBN will be talking about intervention funds. It's not everybody that is getting intervention funds. So we need a financial system that actually supports the real sector of the economy so that we can reverse the trend. We are about 57% of our economy is services. We need to do a lot more in the area of production and the real sector of the economy. And financing is key. Then the maturity profile of deposit liabilities, these are the funds that are available within the financial system. Over 90 or close to 80% of the funds are short-term funds. Again, that is a major issue, which the banks also rightly claim that the funds they have are short-term funds. Therefore, it's not easy for them to lend long-term. So that, of course, is an issue. You can see the graph there. This is that's the tall graph, the tall chart there is 0 to 30 days. The one next to it is 31 days to 90 days. So between the two, you are talking of almost 90% of the funds in the financial system being short-term funds. That's under 3 months. That is not good to support the agricultural sector or even the real sector. You can't use that kind of fund to support manufacturing. You can't use it to support agro-processing or agriculture. So the growth, agricultural GDP growth, I think I have highlighted that. It's in that graph that is there. How much time do I have? Okay, I will round up now. There's a graph there on food inflation. We all know what the food situation is. I mean, I don't need to tell you about that. All of these things are indications of the challenges of food insecurity or food crisis. The Nigerian export of the crude oil, you can see, in terms of export, nothing much is happening outside crude. You can see how tall and towering the contribution of petroleum is to our export. All the smaller ones that are almost disappearing are agricultural exports. So the value of our exports, earnings from agriculture, manufacturing, just about 5%. Of course, that is not good enough. Then we need to reform the land system. Land reform is very important. You cannot do successful agriculture without reforming the land tenure system. There have been issues around the current Land Use Act. Perhaps the land should go back to the community so that there will be no issues. Because even if you take the land from government, the Omolayole will come, the communities will come. So you are dealing with too many people, you know. So land reform is very key to agricultural development. So we need to address the land issues and the impunity of the Omolayole. I think I need to skip all these issues about land reform in the interest of time. The quality of seedlings is very important to improve productivity. Then, of course, there's the role of infrastructure. If you don't have infrastructure, you cannot support production. So when we talk about production, the fundamental thing that can support production is infrastructure. You need roads, you need the railway system, you need power, you need, quite a number of things around infrastructure. So that is key when it comes to infrastructure. I mean, when it comes to farming, the role of infrastructure is highlighted here. Then the role of research and development is key. We already have so many research institutes. You have the Cocoa Research Institute, you have the Oil Palm Research Institute, you have the Cotton Research, you have the Leather Research Institute, you have the National Institute of Tropical Agriculture, you have the Stored Products Research Institute, you have the Agricultural Rural Management and Training. We have so many of them. But what is happening in all this research? Nothing much is happening. All of them are complaining of funding. So they are there and all of them are drawing salaries. So we need to do a lot more about activating the research institute because you need research to transform agriculture. We need to address the issue of extension services. This used to be the case in the days when we have the regional governments, they bring a lot of value to the agricultural value chain. Then insecurity is a big problem. In fact, the biggest problem as we speak. Even the little that we are producing, people can no longer go to the farms. So we need to address the issue of insecurity. I don't think I need to overflog that. We all know the impact of that. Many of the farmers are in IDP camps. We need to address the issue of land degradation and climate change. Environmental issue is a very big issue, which we need to address in order to support agriculture. 70 to 80% of cultivated areas have been degraded. I mean, that's a major problem for agriculture. So climate change, effect of desertification, flooding, and all of that. Water pollution, effects on fishing. This is very pronounced in the Niger Delta area. There's a whole lot of issues around that. Then there is the principle of sustainable agriculture. Because when we talk about agriculture, it's not about having an agricultural system that will feed the people of today at the expense of our children or great-grandchildren. So we need to build sustainability frameworks in the way we use the waters, in the way we use natural resources, the soil and all of that. A whole system of sustainability to make agric sustainable is very, very important. That is the whole idea of sustainability. It requires that we conserve, we protect, and we enhance the quality of natural resources. Any agricultural system that fails to protect and improve rural livelihoods, equity, social well-being is clearly unsustainable. So the principle of sustainable agriculture is something that you must take on board to ensure that Then we have here, in rounding up, the pathways to agricultural development. Some of the issues I've already highlighted. In terms of agric, I've talked about research and development that needs to take place. Need to reduce post-harvest losses through expansion of storage facilities, creation of strategic storage infrastructure towards farming, and of course the application of technology. Increase export earnings through food processing and acceleration of linkages, that is backward and forward linkages in agriculture. And what I mean by that is the ability of agriculture to feed industry. That is very, very key in agric development. Creation of strategic marketing boards. I think there's a debate now to bring back the marketing board so that we can have some order around our key crops that we export. Then issue of legislation around the land. I've talked about land reform. Favorable policy environment is key. We need to address the issue of our macroeconomic environment, our exchange rate, our inflation rate, our interest rate. All of these things are having very serious adverse effects on agriculture, just as it's affecting other sectors. Because we import a lot in terms of inputs. Tractors are imported, agrochemicals are imported, a whole lot of things, even drones. In many parts of the world, they use drones now to support agriculture, to apply pesticides, to apply chemicals, to do some irrigation, a lot of things, a lot of technology, but these things are imported. So if you continue to have a foreign exchange system that is completely dysfunctional, it's going to disrupt a whole lot of things, just as we are beginning to witness. The foreign exchange policy regime is disrupting practically all sectors of this economy. Because there is no way you can stand alone completely. You need one thing or the other that you need to import. And sometimes you also need foreign investors. With the current foreign exchange policy regime, foreign investors will not come into this economy. Go and check the capital importation data. It has almost disappeared. So we need to address policy issues around the macroeconomic environment for the benefit of agric, for the benefit of manufacturing, and for the benefit of practically all sectors of the economy. That is very critical. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I've been told that my time is up. So I will stop here, and since we still have further interactions on the theme, we can engage further on that. Once again, I want to express my appreciation to ISEC for the opportunity of sharing my thoughts with this very eminent gathering. Thank you very much for listening.
I almost feel very bad that I had the unenviable job of telling him time is going. Although when he was about to take the podium, he whispered to me, please help me manage the time. But you know, this is what happens when subject experts are talking on an issue. You hardly ever want them to stop, isn't it? And I think Dr. Muda Yusuf has done justice to that subject. Please let us give him another round of applause. Thank you very much. Before I pass the microphone on to the gentleman who will moderate the question and answer discussion, I wonder if you noticed that there is some kind of paradox in the theme of today's lecture: sustainable development of the agricultural sector for national well-being. What do I mean? Our speaker today has indicated that agriculture should actually be about business. That's why he called it agribusiness. So it should be seen first and foremost as a business, isn't it? However, he also told us that food security is a matter of national security. So now I'm wondering to myself, if we focus on agriculture purely as a business, will it not make it easy for it to be hijacked by businessmen who are focused solely on the business aspect of it, thereby compromising its potential as or the security imperative of it? Will they not price food items out of the reach of the ordinary man? I guess we have a lot more to discuss as it is. The chairman of the occasion today has asked me to pass the microphone on to the president of CIPM, Mr. Majid, to lead the discussions, and therefore I would like to hand over the microphone to him.
Hello.
Okay. My name is Farid Ibrahim, and I'm here with my colleague Nuruddin. We are farmers and agro-extensionists. First, I want to thank Baba for this opportunity, and I would say long life and prosperity, and Nigeria will be good in your lifetime. Amen. I pray so. It's more of like an SOS. We are farmers. We have our farms at Epe and Ifo. We studied agriculture extension in school, and we've always been farmers since when we were kids. And with the rate of the way things are going in the country, there is a particular scenario that happened on our farm settlement at Ifo. It's a farm settlement owned by Ogun State government, and a lot of things are happening there, but not so good. We are the ones doing more of the actual farming there. We sink our borehole, the roads are terrible, blah, 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 and the rest of that. So we went into cassava, maize, and vegetable farming. Due to vegetables is fast and all, we encountered some kind of challenges. We were bringing our goods down from Ifo to Oshodi and, you know, taking it to the highland to sell. Cost of transportation, the road is bad, I was taking everything, and a particular scenario happened. I was speaking with the head of the farmers at Ifo that day, and I asked him, because the previous day was a day of the market. I was like, Baba, Lojana. He said, Ojake, Asakuro Lojani. That they ran away leaving their vegetables in the market. I was like, why? He said there were no buyers for it. There was glut and it was just everywhere. And if they had stayed in the market, the people that control the market would have collected money for them to trash those vegetables. So we sat down and we were like, okay, you're also farming. Let's come together and get a food dehydrator to dry these vegetables. So we buy from these farmers and harvest from our farms. We dry these vegetables, package them, and sell to people. So we got some contacts of some people in the US, in California, New Jersey, and Maryland. We sent these samples to them. We packaged the vegetables, ugu, ewedu, bitter leaf, and efirin, that's saint leaf. We sent it to these people, and they were like, oh, not just Africans need this thing. There's some Caribbeans asking for these ugu because they take ugu also. So the issue now is the cost of freight. These people are ready. They sent money to produce. We produced about 50 kg of dried vegetables for them. We sent it. The market went well, and now they are coming back we sent 20 kg, and it has been sitting there at NACO since Monday. Because of, they said most of the airlines we use then, Delta and the rest are not taking the vegetables anymore. DHL, UPS, they're asking us to pay about 500,000 to send how many kgs of vegetables. And this man now spoke to me yesterday, Farid, you need to be in California now, and I'll be needing about 8 tons of dried vegetables every month. That's about 8,000 kg. If you guys can meet up, there are some Cameroonians and Togo nationals here bringing this thing. They're not just bringing in dried, they're also bringing in the frozen ones also. And you know what it takes to bring in frozen stuff from Africa to the US? The value chain, nothing must happen to the cold storage. Ordinary dried, we've not been able to take it. How can we take the cold storage? I would have brought samples of the vegetables, but I didn't know we were going to make it to this place today to show you guys. So it's more of like an SOS. If there's anybody here that can help out on logistics issues to the US, because there are markets for this product. And he said the opportunity is wide, because now we're talking about people leaving the country, but they're there, they still need these foods. So that's an avenue for us to have foreign exchange. This particular man himself, he asked me to go and open a domiciliary account for the company. He's ready to pay in foreign currency. So if there's anybody to help on that regard, we're open to discussions.
Well, thank you very much. That's an SOS. So how do you want to do this? The way you take 1 or 2 more questions and then, okay. Next. Okay, the hand is still there. Thank you.
My name is Siaka Momo. I've been in the media tough for about 3 decades, and I've done 20 years of reporting industry and agriculture. There's a particular point I want to draw your attention to. This has to do with, because you spoke about value chain. I want to look at value chain in cocoa processing. Cocoa processing has been a failure. I don't know the problem. All the cocoa processing plants we have, there's been a failure in this country. What is the problem? How do we combat it? And
thank you.
Cocoa packaging is robust in terms of profit making.
Cocoa processing. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir. That how can I miss my own, the president of presidents?
Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to make comments bordering on government policy. The commodity boards were scrapped. They've been restored. Over 5 years now, no funding. So what is the use restoring them? And once that happened, all the crops that we were exporting, because there were no certificates from a certified body in Nigeria, they were all ignored. I want to remind us, some of you here will remember Professor Stiglitz. He was economic advisor to 3 different US presidents. When the WTO was introduced and Nigeria rushed to join, I read his book and he said, in America, when a third world country has something to export to America, he says their protective tendencies shoots up immediately and they will find a way to make sure those things don't get into America. And we went into World Trade Organization blindly. We are paying for it. I also want to remind us that today in this country, you don't have storage facilities for perishable agricultural goods. You take tomatoes, for instance. There are tomato plants in the country. But because out of season of tomato, you cannot get to run your factory. What do? I remember in 1988, there was a colonel, he's late now, may he so rest in peace, who was in charge of building silos across the country for the storage of agricultural products. Nigeria spent money. What happened to them? All went into blazes. We still have a lot to do. We should concentrate on feeding this country. And another thing that we tend to ignore, you mentioned in your lecture, Nigeria used to be one of the best countries for cotton production. If you recall, cotton cannot be packed in anything other than jute bags. We started using polyethylene bags, Baco Super Sack, to store this, to bag this cotton. Do you know what happens? The product that you use in making the bags contaminates the cotton so that you cannot spin it. And if you cannot spin cotton, you cannot weave it, it is useless. The only jute bag manufacturing company in this country, in Jos, closed down a long time ago. You can see, our policies inconsistent, and sometimes people take decisions that they don't really know what they are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question. Okay. Okay, another one there, then, sir. After that, we need to manage that.
Thank you. For the records, my name is Nona Awu. Everywhere in the world, other than in developing components of the world, the role of some of the sponsors of this annual lecture is one that should not wait until appointments are made. And what is it I'm talking about? Lobby. How much of lobbying is it that we can do much more to be able to have all of this come to play? You don't appoint, for instance, somebody who does not have a background in agric, and he comes and runs Ministry of Agric, and he turns the bottom up and puts the head down. It wouldn't work. So I'll be hoping that, fortunately, campaigns have started. Let's begin to say, these are the type of people that can work in some organizations. And that organization will include people who must run agric, people who must run industry. Okay? I know that one of the things that a number of medical doctors have done in the past is to say, if you are not a medical doctor, you cannot be Minister of Health. Other than two persons who escaped because they didn't know, because they were called doctors, not knowing they were carrying only PhD, and one of them a professor. That is the attitude I'm hoping that the private sector will also begin to put in place. Because if you don't do it, whether we want it or not, we have gotten to a level in our country where politics is a full-time job. And if the man has a full-time job, he's going to make everything possible for that job to be profitable. By the way, ASU has been on strike. Who is the major contributor to the funding of tertiary institutions in Nigeria by tax? It's the private sector. How many of you are represented on the board? None. I think we have gotten to a level where our approach should not be that of complaint. Our approach should be that of action. Even that action in the short run is going to get us bad names, but in the long run, all of us will be better off for it. So that's the challenge I also want you to speak to. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Some of the comments were actually, they were actually comments, not questions. The issue about cargo and the cost of freight. Only recently I was reading in one of the papers where you were told that cargo aircrafts that were coming to the country will come fully loaded, and when they are going back, they go empty. Of course, that speaks volume of the way we are managing our international trade process, particularly from the point of view of exports. And some of the things that was reported or were reported was that the charges were too much. Because the charges were so exorbitant, and that is what is accounting for the kind of freight cost that is being imposed on somebody who wants to export vegetables and some other things. So it boils down to the point that Mr. Awo was saying about effectiveness of advocacy. Because I still believe that the private sector can do a lot more in the area of advocacy. We have allowed our regulators, policymakers to get away with too many things. And we don't talk. So we need to do a lot more. Just as our youth have now been awakened, the private sector should also be awake. And he said that I should exchange it at 425. That is not fair. And we are all keeping quiet. Parallel market is 730 or 735. Official window is 425 or 430. It's not telling you that we give you 65 naira per dollar. Go and bring your export proceeds. What sense does that make? These are some of the things that are also affecting even people that are trying to export. You are not getting fair value, even for the export. So I think I will hang that on effectiveness of advocacy. We need to do more in the area of advocacy, and we don't have to be politically correct. Because sometimes even in the private sector, people say, no, don't say this. You don't want to annoy the government. You don't want the government to see us as an enemy. You know, all those things. It doesn't help. Mr. Momo, you talk about cocoa processing. Well, we have to interrogate that. I'm not in that cocoa processing business. If they are not doing well, they must be encountering some very serious problems. You know, because I know we have one or two of them in Ondo State, you know, and they are being supported by very solid multinationals. I don't have the full details. But if it's not doing well, then they must be facing some very serious issues. It could be policy problems. It could be structural problems. It could be problem of logistics. You know, you have all of these issues around us. So I may not be able to say much about that. Okay, the question from the past president, I think it was just a comment on WTO protectionism and so on. How about OPS lobby and advocacy? Of course, I agree with you. We need to do a lot more across all sectors. We are not engaging enough, and that is what democracy is about. Democracy is about engagement. It's about engagement. We are not engaging enough. You know, so I think those are my comments. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's talking about value chain. What role we think the government can play in the area of value chain? Well, I think I've addressed that. Value chain is about input segments. What are the challenges that people face now to get these inputs into agriculture? You are importing tractors, you are importing seedlings, you are importing agrochemicals, you are importing machineries. You know, all of these things cost money. There is the issue of capital, the issue of foreign exchange. I mean, those of us in the system knows. Just go to I&E window where the CBN governor say we should go. How much can you get there? We're telling the airlines to go to the I&E window. I mean, you'll be lucky if you get 20% of your demand. No, these are some of the issues around the inputs. Around the processing segment and value addition, there are mainly structural issues. The cost of production is extremely high. So we need to get to a point where some of these structural issues are addressed effectively. Then you have marketing and you have support systems. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think our time is up in the area of questioning, except that the question number one, I remember the gentleman saying it was an SOS. If there's anybody in this room, please, who has anything for the gentleman, please do not hesitate to assist. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe that there is quite a lot of us here who have questions, but please bear with us. And the person who asked the question on Zoom, I believe that they have gotten an answer to their question. Thank you. Just briefly, I would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Nolas Alausa, representing the president of LCCI. Please join. They are our hosting partners as well. Thank you very much. And of course, we have with us here Mr. Victor Ebura Jolo. Forgive me if I didn't get that name correctly. Thank you very much. He is a past president of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, MNI FCIPM. Mrs. Chidima Obiejesi, also National Treasurer CIPM, is here with us. Thank you very much. She's at the back, CIPM. All right. I would have mentioned Otumba Shenia Adetu, but because I was going to talk about him now. So that is why I will leave that for now. We also have with us Professor Edi Omolayole. He's a former student advisor at ISEC in Lagos. He's also here with us. Malam Idris Yakubu, former national president of ISEC, alumni Nigeria, is also here with us. Thank you very much. All right, so now, thank you all for the conversations that we have had around this topic. We want to move it very fast now because our special guest of honor, Dr. Omolayole, has to travel to the other side of town, and we don't want him to leave too late. So we're going to rush through the rest of the program right now. Every year, something that has become a feature of our program is a special award that is given by a body known as SALTVIM, which is the Society for the Advancement of Local Talents and Virtue in Management. And we want to quickly, at this point, invite Otumba Shenia Adetu. You will probably best know him as a former managing director of Guinness Nigeria Limited. I think he's one of those who's been a SALTVIM exponent and an awardee himself over time, to please handle the presentation of awards to this year's recipients.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Our time is fast spent, so I'm going to try to move as speedily as possible without losing the substance, the real essence of this moment. To be honest with you, I must not lie. For me personally, this is the part of the annual lecture that I always look forward to. And maybe I'm biased because, like you said, and by the way, I was a former speaker as well, so I've done both. I have spoken, I have received that award. And so if I say I prefer one, you will not say it's because you've not done the other. But honestly, it's a fantastic time because it's a time when we really celebrate our very own. Before I get into it, I just want to formally introduce some key stakeholders of SALTVIM. SALTVIM, I think the acronym has been expanded for you, but to introduce the key stakeholders, even if they were introduced before I came in late, I always told them I was doing some other things. But I will start with the founding chairman of SALTVIM, Mr. SALTVIM himself, Dr. Michael Omolayole. Please give him a round of applause. It's his vision, and no better person to have started this is the former managing director, former chairman of what we used to call Liver Brothers then, which is, I think you all know as Unilever now. So thank you, sir, for starting this. He didn't start it alone, and that takes me to recognizing the current chairman. So I say he's the founding chairman. The current chairman, again, is no other than Elder Felix Ohiwere. Please give him a round of applause. Elder Ohiwere, you all know him. Mr. Nigerian Breweries. These are all Mr. X or Mr. Y, in multinational or indigenous companies. Over the past 8 years, the organization has led conversations that engaged Nigerians as CEO, steering the organization in the face of international and national watch. The discussions has remained fruitful and has helped produce some key CEO figures in the country. So in closing that paragraph is to say, SALTVIM boasts of notable members such as the late Chief Ernest Shonekon. I'm sure many of you know him or know of him. Elder Felix Ohiwere, I mentioned before. Chief Shonekon obviously used to be the chairman of USC Nigeria, amongst other things that he did. Dr. Chris Kolade, well known to all of you. Chief Shegun Eshukaye, I mentioned before. Late Sir Remi Omotosho, Olola F. Ogunlano, Dr. Michael Omolayole, we mentioned before. Yimika Deboye, my sister. She runs Cadbury, which you call Mondelez now, Mrs. Tisafe Onyechi, and so on and so forth. These are people who had occupied the post of CEOs in large multinational companies in Nigeria, such as Unilever Nigeria, and so on and so forth. I think you can also read that on your page 7, I think. But today, we are very blessed to have two distinguished females in our midst. I thought when you heard females, you would give a round of applause. Let me tell you why. We've been having this for many years. I got my award in 2013, I remember that. But I've never been, and I've been attending everyone, I've never been to any one of these sessions where we had only female awardees. I think that's very significant. And to be honest with you, when I read their profiles, I realized that these are not awardees that are making up the number or just taking the D&I box, what you call the diversity and inclusion box. There are people that on their own merit absolutely qualify to be occupying the positions that they occupy. Please, one more time before I read their profiles, please give them a round of applause. So in terms of how we're going to do it, it's very brief. I'll call them out one by one, no particular order. Okay? Well, particular order. The first to give me their profile. That's okay. And say a few words about the person based on their profile. Then they'll go to Papa Omolayole. Who's got the plaques, please? Shola, do you have the plaques? Yeah, please. They will go to Papa Omolayole. Papa Omolayole will have them say one or read an oath, because we are going to, say that yes, you are committed to this. To be honest, in some other climes, these are what you get after you've left office. So you're getting an award for achievement and excellence in service. Well, I think it's a way to put you on the spot and say you have to do more and more. So you go there and pledge an oath that indeed I'm worthy of this award while still in service. It makes sense? And it's after that they get the award, and then we'll give them the platform to say a few words, maybe 2 minutes or so. Is that okay? So this process, I'm sure 10, 15 minutes, we should be done. The first person I'll call to come out is Mrs. Mokutima Ajileye. She's the Managing Director of P&G Nigeria. Please come out and stand in front of the group here so we can... Please give her a round of applause. A round of applause. Yeah, you can stand there. You can stand there so long as they're seeing you. Yeah, if you know what P&G is, you know why I'm saying that I should give her the round of applause. Mokutima Ajileye is the Managing Director of P&G Nigeria and is responsible for leading the company's business operations in the country. She started her career in manufacturing in the brewing industry, but pivoted to marketing upon joining P&G. She's a highly experienced business leader with over 18 years of accomplishments in building brands, growing businesses, and solving complex business challenges across Africa, Europe, Middle East, and South Asia. Mrs. Ajileye is an astute business strategist. She has an entrepreneurial mindset and is comfortable with ambiguity, which has enabled her to take on startup roles within the company and build the organization from the bottom up. She's extremely passionate about organizational capability building and talent management. Now, prior to her current role, Mrs. Ajileye served as the Senior Director of Commercial and Marketing for P&G Nigeria, where she defined and led the commercial and marketing strategic growth plan for all P&G brands in Nigeria. Before this, she was the Regional Director of Digital Transformation and Disruptive Innovation for P&G's feminine care business in Europe. As the Managing Director of P&G Nigeria, Mrs. Ajileye has continued to demonstrate her commitment to social development. In 2021, under her leadership, P&G relaunched the Always Keeping Girls in School AKGIS program in Nigeria. Through this program, over 50,000 vulnerable girls have been reached with essential menstrual health management training and donation of a year's supply of sanitary pads. And why? So that they can commit to their education and their future. Through the Pampers project, Riga Kafi, P&G also donated over 3.5 million Pampers diapers to improve the health outcomes of over 500,000 infants and increase immunization rates in peri-urban and rural areas of the states. Mrs. Ajileye, yes, clap for her, please. It's only once to get the award. Mrs. Ajileye sits on the board of American Business Council and the Nigerian Jubilee Fellows Program, NJFP, and serves as a strategic member of the board of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. She has an MBA from the Warwick Business School and is an alumnus of the Federal University of Technology, Owerri. She also holds certifications in digital disruption from IMD Business School, Switzerland, and in strategy from INSEAD Business School in France. Yes, she deserves it. Mrs. Ajileye is married with 3 children and has lived and worked in Nigeria and Switzerland. She is passionate about education of the girl child and mentoring the next generation. She enjoys exploring new sites and is an avid reader. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mrs. Mukutima Ajileye, the Managing Director of P&G Nigeria. I would suggest you make your way to Papa's side of the table. Let me give Papa the microphone. I think there's one in front of him. Is that working? Yes, after.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's really my great pleasure to present this award to Mrs. Ajileye. I'm full of words, but I'm going to save a little bit of time and just give her the award. When the second person gets her own, then I will make a little speech because I really am excited. Now, congratulations for getting this award, and I'm giving it to you in the presence of some of the titans of the private sector sitting here, who are members of the SALT VIM. SALT VIM is salt and vim. Now, every woman in Nigeria knows what salt means and also knows what vim means. So a combination of the two is what culminated in this award. We look for not only talented Nigerians, we look for those who are virtuous. Now, that's not always easy because nobody is virtuous in the private sector unless he or she has integrity, impeccable integrity. And there may be millions of talented people in this country, but there are very few with a very high integrity. So congratulations for being one of them.
I thought I was taking the oath. No, she's not taking an oath. You just say a few words. Okay. All right. No, there's another person. Yes, after. So can she speak now? Can she speak?
Okay. All right. So good evening, everyone, and all protocols observed. I think first a very, very deep thank you to Dr. Omolayole. Thank you so much, sir. And to Elder Felix Ohiwere, thank you. I really appreciate the call you made to me when I was appointed and all the advice that you gave me. Thank you so much for your support. And I really, indeed, to the entire SALT VIM team, thank you for this recognition and incredible honor. And I'll still say thank you to my P&G team. Some of them are here. Their support really has made, thank you. Their support has made my job as a leader quite easy. So in line with the objective of SALT VIM, at the end of the day, I'm proud today to receive this award, but I'm committed, honestly, to demonstrating excellent leadership. Because for me, one of the successes is not just to be known as the first Nigerian to lead P&G Nigeria, but that it does not end with me. So today, really, I think I'm taking my oath in advance, but actually, I will remain committed to developing and advocating for local talent and for mentoring and coaching the next generation. So thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please give her another round of applause as she goes to sit down, please. Thank you very much. Finally, and remember I told you that these were not females that were just taking the box. I'm talking about people managing quality organizations. So, they've deserved it clearly. They've earned their roles, and we're celebrating them today. The second person today is another female, like I said earlier. and she's Mrs. Bolari Okunowo. Please, can you make your way out here, Mrs. Okunowo? Please, yes, give her a round of applause. Give her a round of applause. Yes, please face the... So, Mrs. Bolari Okunowo is the sitting managing director of Chemical and Allied Products PLC. Mrs. Okunowo is a seasoned business leader and finance specialist with over 17 years experience in a range of roles spanning investment banking, financial services, manufacturing, oil and gas, real estate, and hospitality. She is the managing director, chief executive officer of Chemical and Allied Products PLC, as I said before, a subsidiary of UAC of Nigeria PLC, and the manufacturers of leading paint brands Dulux, Santex, Caplux in Nigeria. Prior to her executive appointment at CAP PLC, Bolari served as the immediate past managing director CEO of Portland Paints and Products Nigeria PLC, a subsidiary of UACN. At Portland Paints, she led a turnaround of the business and the implementation of the successful merger of CAP PLC in July 2021. Prior to joining the UACN Group, she was the head, Energy and Infrastructure Finance at Stanbic IBTC Capital, Stanbic, with responsibility for the oil and gas, power and infrastructure debt finance portfolio. During her time at Stanbic, she worked on over $15 billion capital raising transactions into Nigeria and the Niger Delta region. Prior to Stanbic, Bolari worked with ARM investment managers and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Bolari is a qualified chartered accountant. She holds a bachelor's degree in commerce from the University of Birmingham, UK, and a master's degree in information systems from the prestigious London School of Economics. Bolari has served in various capacities on the boards of various publicly listed companies, including Wema Bank, CAP PLC, former Portland Paints, and Livestock Feeds PLC. She's currently serving as a non-executive director of Wema Bank PLC and chairs the board audit committee of the bank. Mrs. Okunowo is passionate about transforming and scaling up businesses to achieve exceptional results. She enjoys building teams, developing people, and growing their capacity to achieve their professional goals. Bolari is an ardent foodie. I don't know what that means. For a woman, I don't know what that means. I'll meet her later to explain to me. So anyway, I have to read what I'm seeing. Bolari is an ardent foodie. Enjoys traveling and sampling new cuisines. She's happily married with 3 children. Please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, meet Mrs. Bolari Okunowo. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. Please make your way to Dapa Omolayole.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, it's my real pleasure to congratulate Mrs. Oshinowo for this award. This year, we're having 2 women for the award. Last year, we had, I think, 4 people, 3 men, 1 lady. This year, 2 ladies. So I say, this is the match of madams. That's why I'm really, really excited. I'll make a little speech after I had given you the award, and you can be sure all of us not only praying for you to be successful, we're grateful to the organization that promoted you. Thank you, sir. I will still say a few words about that after you had received your award. It's been a long way to find Nigerians who can give award to. I think when we started about 10 years ago, sometimes we get 1, sometimes we get 2. Last year was the year we got 4. Hopefully next year we get more. But I'll give a message also to those who are still on the wings to be ready to supply us with awardees. Congratulations, I wish you every success in your job.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm certainly very, very humble. I think I stand on all. Can you hear me?
I think that is.
Hello? Hello. Okay, this is much better. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I stand on all protocols said already. I want to thank the founding chairman, as well as the current chairman. When I got the call to be told I was to be given an award, I was extremely, extremely humbled. And I really like the comment made earlier that this is a call to excellence. It's a call to virtuous leadership, and it's a call to really sort of raising the bar. I certainly feel that call and that obligation for receiving the award. I think I took up my current role on the 1st of December. So it's quite fresh, and the pressure is on. But I thank God for this opportunity and this privilege. I thank the committee and the planning committee for this award. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I think in standing in tune with other recipients of the award, it's really a call to do a lot more and to set an example. So I'm most grateful. Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, when I said I'm really excited, I want to transfer the excitement to the audience. And so what I'm going to do may be a little unusual. There are many young people here. One of the strengths of ISEC is made up of a lot of very young alumni. They become alumni, most of them in the 20s, some as early as 19 years. And so I'm sure a good number of young people are in this audience. And I want to transfer to them the enthusiasm and the excitement that I've just got shaking the hands of two people who were found not only talented, but also virtuous. Now, what I want to do is all the young people here who want to aspire one day to reach the level of CEO in a big organization should kindly stand up. All the young people or anybody who wants to aspire, and I'm going to lead them. Now, when you stand up, because of the excitement of what we've just seen, we're going to punch the air. When I say 3 hearty cheers to the awardees, we will pump the air. So all of us should get ready. If you dream well, and you work well, you will get there. So all those who want to be CEO one day, a successful CEO, when I say 3 hearty cheers to the 2 awardees, you pump the air. Okay? 3 hearty cheers to the 2 awardees. Hey. 3 hearty cheers to the 2 awardees. Hooray! 3 hearty cheers to the 2 awardees. Hooray! Now, I've transferred the excitement to you. May God make your dreams possible. Now, apart from that, I do have also to thank the organizations that found them worthy. Obviously, they developed them very well until they got there. I know the two organizations very, very well. Now, I paid my dues, or part of my dues to this country, through working for Unilever. And nobody can work in Unilever who does not know Procter & Gamble. You know, the fear of your competitor is the beginning of wisdom in business. If you don't take to know who your competitors are and how strong they are, you will not last long. So I know how strong Procter & Gamble was and still is when I worked. CAPL has its roots in ICI. And ICI was one of the biggest corporate organizations Britain ever produced. If you read a book called 10 Corporate Giants or so, in Britain, ICI was one of them. And I happen to have been chairman of ICI / TAPL for 13 years. So I do know both of them very well. And so through them, through the employers who are here, I'm going to send a message to those who are still trying. They haven't got there. Eventually, I hope they will get there. And as a shareholder of all of the companies I'm going to mention, I'm allowed to ask a question at the annual general meeting. I was not at the annual general meeting last year. I'm asking a question ahead of the next one. And my proxy is here, in person of Mr. Awo Nona. So my question is, the biggest culprit, I was a director of that company. It is Nestle, where? Unilever, where? Nigerian breweries, where? Guinness, where? Wamco, where? SCOA, where? Total, where? All right, send the message. I will take notes.
I have had the privilege of attending at least 25 of the 38 Omolayole management lectures. And one thing I can tell you is that if you have not experienced Baba Omolayole, you have not attended the program. I think you saw a bit of it today. So if you are wondering why he is still so energetic at 94, there you have your answer. Please give him a round of applause. Today, Dr. Muda Yusuf, as a token of our appreciation for the good job he has done today, please. Dr. Muda Yusuf, please. Dr. Muda Yusuf, he's outside. Maybe you should. Oh, okay, he's having an interview, so maybe you wait a bit. All right, so let's go on to quickly another very special award. And this time around, it is the ISEC Lifetime Achievement Award. This is a very special award that is usually reserved for those who have contributed over many years to the success of ISEC activities in Nigeria. I would like to invite Mr. Shola Oyetayo to please help us with this specific award. Mr. Oyetayo, please.
Who is going to read? Who is going to read?
Yes. The recipient of our Lifetime Achievement Award for this year is, and I don't know if many of you know her, Mrs. Yetunde Ibirunke Holloway. Please give her a round of applause. Mrs. Holloway was born on the 7th of November 1938 in Lagos to the family of Pa Philip Adesina Anyobule of Ijebu Mushin and Mama Caroline Bijoke Anyobule of Ijebu Modi. She had her primary education at CMS Girls School, Broad Street, Lagos, her secondary education at St. Anne's School, Ibadan, and Peirce School for Girls, Cambridge, England. She had her university education at Bristol University and London University, both in England. From the time she was a little girl, she wanted to be a teacher because her parents were both teachers, and she had the privilege of attending high standard schools where the teachers were excellent. She started her career as an educationist in 1962, and she taught at Queen's School at the Comprehensive High School Ayetoro and Queen's College Yaba, where she became a vice principal. Thereafter, she was deployed to the Federal Ministry of Education headquarters, where she became an education bureaucrat. As an education administrator, she had a long and interesting career. She was part of the teams that developed the new national policy on education, developed the first ever national curricula in all school subjects, and served on the committee that promoted the implementation of the new policy on education. In the course of her duties, she traveled to all the continents of the world, and on retirement in 1997, she was hired by the World Bank, the British Council, and the British Department for International Development as consultant on their education programs. In recognition of the quality of her performance, she won.
Up to a few moments ago, I was telling myself that I'm like a fish out of water in this company, because it's all a company of private sector gurus, and the first two awardees have achieved so much and become CEOs in frontline companies. And here I am, a very humble ex-civil servant. But when I was a civil servant, it was a very prestigious thing to be. Would be directing them, guiding them. And you know, they will come along with their audited accounts, and they will want to take the board through those audited accounts. And one of them will be shaking like that. And Papa will be saying, no. What's this? What's that? I myself, a member of the board, I learned a lot. And being a teacher, I enjoyed working with the young people. They came to me not just to get money from government to host ISECAs around the world, but for other things, even to get posted by NYSC to places where they will continue their work as ISECAs. I enjoyed it. And I thank them for welcoming me into their fold. And I'm very grateful for this honor. I'm also grateful that 40 years ago, ISEC alumni made me an honorary ISEC alumnus. Thank you all very much. And sir, I'm so glad to see you again. So invigorated, so energetic. May the Lord spare your life to continue to be a gem in this nation. I think we will all agree that we do not have many gems in Nigeria anymore. We do not have many people like Pa Omolayole anymore. But many of us pray that his type and his generation will come again, that God will bless this nation again with people like him. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Malam Yusuf, please. Idris Yakubu, please. I would just like to present this plaque of appreciation to the speaker today.
Dr. Michael Omolayole, the Dean of Business and Management in Nigeria, the chairman of this occasion, President ISEC Alumni Nigeria, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm very pleased, to have been given this privilege, to give this plaque to my friend, my brother, Dr. Muda Yusuf. I'm sure when you were calling Muda, you probably didn't know I have a relationship with him. Muda was my classmate at the Lagos Business School, where we both did the Advanced Management Program 2010. I was the president of the class, and my class, arguably, is one of the, it's the best class of LBS over time. For those who know, AMP 22. Muda, I'm privileged to be a classmate with Muda. So I'm very pleased, that Muda is delivering this lecture this year. For those of us who have organized the ISEC Omolayole Management Lecture Series over the years, choosing a lecturer, to come to deliver the Omolayole Management Lecture is something that we do very carefully, and we think about it carefully. So the choice of Dr. Muda Yusuf for this year's lecture was very well thought through. And I listened to the lecture even when I was coming, in the car and all through. And Muda has done me and all of us very proud. Please, let's give Muda a big round of applause again. And I want to, on behalf of ISEC alumni, thank you for this. This award is given to you in recognition of, the lecture that you have delivered today and in appreciation of delivering this lecture to ISEC alumni and to Dr. Omolayole. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Excellent. So now, I think, I know that Dr. Omolayole has said a few words on and on through the program, but this part of the program is always reserved for him. A speech by the special guest of honor, Dr. Michael Omolayole. Let's listen to him for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
With the permission of the chairman, I would like to sit down. Now, no, you don't. Okay, if you want me to stand, I stand. I have a fairly long speech, but I'm not going to go through a long speech. No, I have one I have marked. First and foremost, I'm most grateful to everybody. This is a very special day as far as I'm concerned, and I let you know how special it is. The last time I went out to any event in Lagos was exactly a year ago when the annual Omolayole lecture took place in Lagos, Lagos Chamber of Commerce. It shows how special I regard, otherwise I would have watched from Zoom. I have prayed to God for as long as I'm alive, I will have the enthusiasm and the energy to come along. This year in particular, I've been very excited. I'm seeing for a very long time Professor Omolayole of the University of Lagos. He was a staff advisor to ISEC for many, many years, for decades in fact, if I might put it that way. Now, I have had the pleasure of serving ISEC locally and internationally for nearly 60 years. When ISEC came to Nigeria, they first went to the University of Ibadan. And the University of Ibadan had just started a Department of Economics. And my own dear friend, the late Professor Aboyade, was the professor. Soon he became head of the department. So I have written a speech. I'm not going to go through the whole, I will just tell you a little bit. And I will plead that my speech in the end should be made available. I have also noted that one or two people have been here all through the 38 lectures. I have been here all the 38 lectures. But I can ask Shola to be upstanding. He has been here for 38 lectures. Now, if anybody wants to compete with him, he should get up and be recognized. You know, it takes a lot. He started it all with his colleagues, and he's taking a lot of it. I'm most grateful to you. Now, the speech I wrote, I'm just going to paraphrase it now. Since luckily I wrote it, it wasn't written for me. I started by calling everybody here and at home through Zoom compatriots. I choose not to use the normal protocol, but I'll tell you why later. One thing I have tried to identify in this little speech of mine is first, how momentous the month of September had been, this year in particular. Her Majesty the Queen passed away on the 8th of September, and she was laid to rest on the 19th of September in a most impressive and incredible ceremony. And I said to myself, oh, only the British, with their penchant for organizational ability, can put that kind of thing together. But somehow, we must start to emulate them. You know, if you see a good thing and you copy it, soon you too will get there. That's not only the only reason I'm referring to it. It so happened that I would want us to pay respect to two other people, apart from Her Majesty, who had passed away. His Excellency Chief Dr. Ernest Shonagon was a member of our SOLVIM. It is a small organization, advocacy group of like-minded people. It's a selfless service. Nobody asks us to do it. We think it will benefit this country if we let it be known that all those who come here to establish businesses, we welcome them with open arms. But they too must be faithful with us. Faithful in the sense that they go and look for highly talented and people with integrity and take them up to the highest level. If that didn't happen, we will keep reminding them for as long as it takes. And there can only be benefits from it whenever they arrive there. I keep saying this for the simple reason that the eye sees not itself except by reflection. That is what Shakespeare said. We sitting in the sideline, we know if you go on clinging to your own nationality without respecting the nationality of your hosts, what do they like to see? In 1940s and 1950s, our politicians would have been jumping up and down. They have no time for that anymore. So we've got to replace them. We've got to say, if you're making profits in this country, train Nigerians. Find the most talented. Find the most virtuous. They exist, and take them up to the highest level. And when you do, we will not only acclaim you, you will be surprised what the benefit will come in many other ways. Now, I haven't mentioned two people who passed away. I will also mention the late Director General of NECA. When we had the 37th edition, only 2 or 3 days after the news came out that he passed away. It really was very sad. I now request all of us here to be upstanding in the memory of the three people I've mentioned. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. Now, that I thought was a duty I need to discharge. The next is the journey so far. I told you we started 38 years ago. The very first lecturer was Chief Shonagon. And the first chairman, Chief Chris Ogumbanyo, who is still very much alive. He will be 99 in a few months from now, and still going strong. Since then, we've had a long way to go, but we never missed one single year. 12 years ago, we rebranded, or not quite, 2013, we decided we will bring in hosting partners, because two things used to be problematic. One, the chairman of the event. Two, the venue. So we then decided we're going to solve that once for all. Our hosting partners, we will use the auditorium. Then the president of the particular host for that year will be the chairman. So we've solved two problems straight away. And our hosting partners have been very faithful to us. We're most grateful to all of them. This year, it is NECA, and the president of NECA is here. The Director General of NECA came to see me about 2 weeks ago, and I told him I'm excited because I was president of NECA for 6 years. It's normal to be president for 3, but that will be another story. I wasn't a sit tight. Now, after mentioning the journey so far, I also touched on the subject matter, which is agriculture. I'm most grateful to the guest speaker, the erudite guest speaker. He really, in a sense, a wanted man. You open the pages of Punch, every 3 or 4 days, he must be there. I'm told on Arise television, if you don't like to see his face, you must stop watching television. I'm most grateful to him for coming, and I'm one of your fans. He knows that. I'll continue to pray for you and to encourage people like you. The subject he talked about was agriculture. Agriculture should be very close and dear to every Nigerian because, quite honestly, a lot of countries have used agriculture as the stepping stone to industrialization and to prosperity. For some reason, while we were making effort to do the same as most other countries, every country in the world started as an agrarian society. Every country, agriculture was supreme. Then later, arts and crafts came, then industrialization came. For some reason, our agriculture remained peasant agriculture for so long, everybody lost interest. I think we missed our way. We've got to go back. Advice. I'm not just being converted today. I had the privilege and the pleasure of living in IITA Ibadan for 1 year. I was a consultant, a management consultant to IITA, and in the process I learned a lot of agriculture, and I had a lot of respect for agricultural science, especially the biotechnology, plant breeding, and so on and so forth. There is a lot we left behind when we started chasing crude oil. And unfortunately, it's a wasting asset. However, we had a lot of food for thought from the lecturer. If only all those in the corridors of power and chambers of power would take some of the suggestions and put them to practice, then we will know a lot of prosperity in this country. We will say goodbye to poverty. Now, I then also touched on what I always regard as matters of the moment. Every year, there are some topical things. In 2020, I had suggested we look into electricity, availability, affordability. We expressed our mind, we sent a memoranda. Those things have not been followed. Last year, we looked into security of life, of property, of investment. As if we knew insecurity had got worse since then. In fact, we miss a lot of investment because too many people think if you stretch your hand out of your window at night, it will be cut off. There was the story of a pilot flying from Britain. When he got, after passing Sahara, there was complete darkness. He couldn't see any light. The pilots, they see a lot of light in Europe. And he wanted to find out where exactly he was. So he opened the window of the cockpit, stretched out his hand. Promptly, his wristwatch was gone. According to the storyteller, he knew he was over Nigeria. Now, I didn't invent that. I can tell you who did. But back to what I'm trying to say about our problems. This year, I want briefly to focus on 2 or 3. I mentioned 2 or 3. I focus on 1. The first one has to do with inflation. The latest figure we got is 20.5, I think. And that's terrible. It's probably 20 years ago that ever happened. The next thing, unemployment is even worse. Of young people, 30-something. Unemployment. Then poverty, we're the poverty nation, capital of the world. We're back to the then philosopher Hobbes said it was all a state that is characterized by being nasty, brutish, solitary, poor, and so on. Now, the third one I put down was the tango between federal government and ASU. I think it's gone on for so long that if we don't see an end to it within 10 years, Nigeria will be finished. And when I say within 10 years, ASU and federal government had been at it for a minimum of 30 years. Now, at some point, I was in the corridor of power. I was never in the chamber. And so, I know what I'm talking about. We have had all the brains Nigeria can find who couldn't solve it. Professor Babs Fafunwa was Minister of Education. Dr. Jubril Aminu was Minister of Education. Professor Ben Wabweze was Minister of Education. Professor Tunde Adenino was Minister of Education. All the time they were there, ASU was still going on strike. Now, I don't talk about 1 week strike or 1 day strike. That is no strike. They go for 10 months. They go for 6 months. They go for 7 months. I think we've got to find an end to that. And all I can say, honestly, is that there are many ways by which we can find an end to it. But first, we must make ASU, federal government and ASU recognize that they are where they are today because of confusion of roles, because of misconception, and because of conceit. The federal government may be an ultimate employer to a few people It is no direct employer to any university. That's the honest truth. The federal government is no direct employer and therefore had no business negotiating, since it's not a direct employer. The federal government does not negotiate with unions in Nigerian Ports Authority. It had no business negotiating with people who are not direct employers. It took away the responsibility from the council of the various universities. And so it's been landed in this problem. That's number one. ASU itself had no business negotiating funding. The union negotiates terms and conditions, good salary, not funding. The moment you are doing that, you are no longer a union. They could do so under the umbrella of a CSO, civil society organization, or advocacy group, but not as a trade union. And I'm saying what I know, because I was president of NECA for 6 years. If you took on a fight that doesn't belong to you, it can go on forever. So I have suggested that through NECA, all well-meaning people, all compatriots, that's why I keep using the word patriots and compatriots, we should float a think tank, fund it very well, and I'm suggesting a name, Nigerian Industrial Relations Summit and Study Group, to do nothing but go into archives, do a lot of research, see how peace can come back into industrial relations in the educational sector. It can happen. And I think NECA, I want to give NECA that challenge to midwife it. Even at my old age, I'm prepared to donate my interest, the little energy I have, my little expertise, and even some funding. So the floor is all yours. Now, I end by saying, if anybody thinks the problem we're facing within the educational sector is impossible to solve, don't you believe it? Now, you remember, those of you attending regularly, I have a joke about the fact that you must never say yes to certain things. Once upon a time, there was a merchant who was asked by the Sultan to bring a flower vase, a really big one, to his palace. And he was going to pay anything if it was really worth it. And so the merchant got a big vase, very expensive. And as he was going along the road, he saw a young man. And he asked the young man, "Are you doing anything?" He said, "No, sir." He said, "If you carry this vase for me and help me to go to the palace of the Sultan, I'll give you $300. Oh, the unemployed young man was very, very happy. And he took the vase from him and he put it on his head. And they were walking along. And the merchant asked the young man, "I see you are poor." He said, "Yes. I can give you some tips that will really make you rich." And the young man said, "Oh, I'll be glad." He said, "If I give you one tip, that will be $100. And the young man said, it's worth it. So he told the young man, if anybody ever told you that once you were poor, you will always be poor, don't you believe it? And the young man said, that is true. He said, now, you've lost $100. So you have $200 left. Then the young man said, maybe if I get another one, that would be more useful. So he said, if anybody ever tells you poverty is enjoyable, don't you believe it? Yeah. And the young man said, that is also true, but I can't help it. So I have only $100 left. He said, yes, you have $100 left. He then said, you can still try for one more. He said, yes, okay. He said, what he's going to tell you, this one, is if you are once rich, if you don't manage it very well, you can be as poor as church rat thereafter. The young man said, that is true. But how does that help me? He said, but a bargain is a bargain. You don't have anything now. Just then, they got to the palace of the Sultan. And the young man was thinking, they had to go up a flight of stairs, long one, to reach the chamber. And as they were going, they reached the landing. And the young man threw the vase down, and it cascaded down. And the young man said, sir, if anybody ever told you that vase is not broken, don't you believe it? So, yeah. The corollary is, if anybody tells you the solution we're trying to find won't solve ASUS and the federal government, don't you believe it?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can do better with that applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think it's been a very exciting time, isn't it? We'll just quickly take the closing remarks by the NECA president and the chairman of today's occasion, Mr. Taiwo Adeniyi.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC. I want to thank all of us. We started, and then the MC remarked that we're going to have more people online than we have in this room. I think he was trying to manage us, but contrary to that, the hall is, pretty full. We want to thank everyone that have come. We have taken a lot of lessons from today's lecture. We also have a commitment, or that we should take a commitment from all of us, particularly the partners, the members of OPSN. We have a duty from our elders. I grew up to know that it is often said that when a tree is about to fall, that it is only the elders around that knows the direction it will land. We have been forewarned. There is need to come together. Quite honestly, the future of this country is currently being put at a very dangerous balance, and we all have to do something about it. Sir, we sure will get back to council, work with other OPSN members or partners, and again engage you as you have offered and start work on what you have suggested. Peradventure, thank you very much. That may just be what government and ASU needs. The way it is now, two elephants fighting, going out of court and coming out of court, and they've gone to hire Let's leave it at that. We pray. We pray that a solution will come down the line. We want to thank the elders in the house. Elder Oyiwere, thank you very much for coming, sir. Chief Oshuke, thank you. They've sat all through. All through. They came quite early and they've been here. Prof, sir, thank you very much, sir. We are indeed very, very grateful to you. Thank you for the CEOs around, members of the organized private sector, ISECers, everyone present. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And now would like you to please do the ceremony of handing over the OML flag to the hosts for next year, which is the Nigerian Institute of Management. And would like to invite the representative of the president of NIM, Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired, to do the honor of receiving the OML flag. So there you have it. This same time next year, we hope to see you all at the Nigerian Institute of Management. So we are moving to the island next year for the 39th edition of the Omolayole Management Lecture. Thank you very much. And now would like to invite the committee president, Dr. Tola Bamigbaye Latui, to give us a vote of thanks. Tola, please. She's been bustling up and about all day, and I think we can attest to the success of the event.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy that you could stay till this time. I'm super excited, and I thank you for the time. I'm really very grateful. To our president, we thank you very much. President of NECA, Mr. Taiwo Adeniyi, thank you very much. We are grateful. To our host partners, NECA, our DG of NECA, Mr. Wale Smart, we couldn't have done this without your involvement. We couldn't have done this without you accommodating us. We are grateful. Thank you very much. To the partners who have held Omolayole Management Lecture over the 38 years, LCCI, CIPM, NIM, we thank you, sirs. To the registrars and the presidents, we thank you. We are very grateful. Dr. Muda, how could we do this also without you today? We are very, very grateful. And Baba Omolayole, like I always call, Eshe sir, thank you very, very much. We are grateful. So Shola Oyetayo, you are the engine and the brain behind all of this. We thank you too. Today you can see the 38th edition of the Omolayole Management Lecture. And people like us have been able to benefit from the lectures, the conversations that have happened over the years. We thank you also. That small brainchild has lived 38 years, and we believe we will do more and better than that. To the audience who are online, you guys are super amazing. Thank you so much for being online even till this time. If your questions, we heard them in the hall, but unfortunately, we didn't have time to attend to all of the questions. Please note, we have taken down the questions, and over the course of time, on the ISEC page, you will see the answers to all of those questions. We thank you for being with us in the hall, and we thank you for staying online till this time. To everyone who is in the hall, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you, and we celebrate you all. Thank you very much. How could I not thank my MC? Look at you. Now, thank you so much for all the years you've done this without us, my Bumi tells me without giving one kobo. Only she knows, oh. But we thank you. This is also an investment in your time. We celebrate you. We thank you. Thank you very much. To my president, Bumi Abejirin, thank you so much. We were able to do OML, the 38th OML, under the leadership and guidance of Bumi. Thank you very, very much.
Excellent. Please give Dr. Talaba a round of applause. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, as an announcement, please note that the next Omolayole Management Lecture, and this is something that we've done consistently now for a couple of years, will be on the last Thursday of September next year. It's always on the last Thursday of September. So at the beginning, I did say that Shokilo Beogi, I usually do not tell lies. The program said we will start at 3 and finish at 5. We're finishing at 6. But you know the reason. I think we all have had a wonderful time today, haven't we? And we really appreciate you for coming. Thank you very much. Please, would like to invite all the members of the high table to just rise on their places so that we can take a photo session with them for use in the newspapers. Thank you. And God bless you. See you again next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.